Richard Sudan, before we get into what the old Duchess and Prince Harry are up to, the exiled Californians, we like to call them, let's kick things off with, well, some rather skewed views. I'm not quite sure how to introduce this story. A weird one.
It's a very interesting one indeed. So there's a planned Netflix production looking at the life and political activism of American NFL football player Colin Kaepernick. And essentially, the production has come under alleged threats and intimidation by the US group, the Proud Boys. Now, Colin Kaepernick, for those who don't know, is, of course, an NFL player who famously refused to stand for the American national anthem in 2016 in protest at long-standing police brutality in the US and the seeming culture of impunity around it. Now, for obvious reasons, the Proud Boys feel very threatened by this stance being aired on Netflix, and so that's led to them planning a protest or trying to. I don't think it happened yet. Now, what's interesting really is this casts more light on the US Proud Boys. A lot of people are saying, why hasn't the US yet designated them as a terror group? Because actually they've done things like this with Colin Kaepernick's production, but also, you know, importantly, they tried to turn up to the US Capitol, Washington, D.C. on January the 6th with the aim, some would say, of overthrowing the government by violent means with a political aim. Some of the Proud Boys would say, you know, they're inspired by God. And of course, the plot thickens. So you've got countries like Canada, which have designated the group as a terror group. But a lot of people are actually saying, is Amina one of the reasons why the Proud Boys are yet to be designated as a terrorist group in the US? Because maybe, potentially, it might implicate vast swathes of law enforcement in the US. So I'm just posing the question, Amina. And just on another note, there's another story which we're just learning about now, which shows that the Proud Boys last year in Australia sought to bring in and recruit combat trained supporters to rally in Australia. For a lot of people, that translates as people that might have had experience in the armed forces or law enforcement. So more and more questions around the Proud Boys.
And what's that reflected like on social media?
Big conversation online, Amina, as you'd imagine. Let's go to Stephen Green first, who says, yes, watch out for the Proud Boys. They'll crawl up behind and stick a knife in your back, then run like the cowards they are. What are Proud Boys proud of? How dumb does one have to be convinced of the drivel that spews from their guts? Kaepernick is a builder. Proud Boys hate that. And Joanne Cook says, yeah, well, I'll be pretty upset if anything happens to Kaepernick too. He's a hero here in Canada for standing up for justice, and we don't like Proud Boys. They are terrorists here. Some interesting reactions.
All right.